I think I'd like to go back to the pre-breakfast program because many of these children were on the bus for a long time. The pre-kindergarten kids were fed. They were given a breakfast program when they came in, or they were given a snack when they came in. But there were a lot of children who came into the community who came in a long time on the bus and they had nothing to eat. So I went to the Church Women United and said, we need cereal, and they just gave me money to go buy cereal, and we started the breakfast program in 1966, and it was the first free breakfast program in any school system around here, and it's been going on ever since. Then Maurice Taft came to me a few years later, maybe 3 or 4 years, and he said, the government is going to put in a free breakfast program. Do you think we ought to participate? I said, we sure should. So we got the juice and the milk from the school program. We got the juice and the cereal from the Church Women United and milk from the school. And then when the federal government came in and they provided all of the services for the pre-breakfast. But we had a pre-breakfast program for our students starting in 1966. And we thought it was a very valuable program.
Well, that's why it's continued all these years, and of course it's expanded right up through high school for the kids for free breakfasts. Yeah. And it is a big help because some of those kids that didn't have any breakfast wouldn't have lunch either.
They wouldn't have lunch either.
It sure has helped their
they would misbehave in the morning, and I would have to take them home because they'd misbehaved. And 9 times out of 10, they would say, "Can I have some breakfast now?" And half the time, there was nothing there for them to eat. So that's how I got into the feeding program.
And you've been feeding masses ever since.
I had one story. I got a phone call one Sunday morning, and they had moved here from West Virginia, and they called up and they said they had no heat, and they had no food, and they have 8 children. And I called Lloyd Emerson and the people in the church, and I said, bring in food for this family. They have no food. Bring it to church, and I'll take it out to them. And I was mumbling to myself, and I said, but where am I going to get money for oil? They won't take oil out to anybody for less than $25. And my husband said, well, now this was December, late November, early December. He said, well, during the World Series, Harry Van Buren came in and said, we only have 1 slot left on our punch board for the World Series pool. Would you take it? So we said, I did. And I won the pool. And so I have $25 in my desk drawer in my office that I didn't know what I was going to do with. So we got $25 to pay for the oil. I think he was embarrassed that he was deliver oil in those days without the Whitaker on North Avenue would deliver it for $25, but you wouldn't take it for less than $25. So and I really got into the food business because I was constantly going into homes where there wasn't any food or very little food.
You've seen these same families for all the way up through from pre-kindergarten.
I'd seen them all, and I knew. And one family, I remember I took food, I'd gathered food together, and I'd taken a lot of food. Well, for one thing, there were 13 people living in a 2-bedroom trailer. And I took all this food out to them, and it was snowy up to my knees, and I got halfway back to the car, and I thought, cooking. So I went back in, and I said, do you have any propane to cook this? And she said, no. Mm-hmm. It was late. It was like 4 o'clock. It was getting dark. So I called Whitaker, and I said, I need propane out here. And he said, I'll take it out for $10. So we had to gather up the $10. But, people say that there aren't people like that in Yates County, but there are. There are people who don't have food.
Now, when did it become an organized thing for the churches to collect food?
That was started by Anna Booth, Ruth Hamilton, and Dorothy Burks, and another woman, Anna, neither I nor Anna can remember her name, but she had a daughter that worked with her who was special needs person, and they decided about 1984 or 1985 that this needed to be done. So they're actually the ones who started Food for the Needy.
But you've been directing and...
When they came to me when they wanted advice. They used, at that time too, they started the food banks throughout the country for surplus food, not surplus food, but donated food to in the different food banks. And there was one in Elmira, and there was one in Syracuse, and there was one in Rochester. And they used the Elmira one, and you just went down and took whatever was on the outside of the warehouse. It could be anything. One time we got a box of books, another time we got a box of pantyhose. But we also got meat and bread and whatever they had. And now there's an organized, we go through Food Link out of Rochester, and they're very well organized. They get donated food from manufacturers and from Wegmans and from various, and we order. They had it for several years, and then they all decided they were too old when they were 80. Or they got, they moved away or something. So then I took it over about when I took it over, 86, 87, somewhere around in there.
And you pack these boxes for the needy the
Yeah,
last
we do.
the last
Friday.
week of
Fourth Friday.
Of every month.
Fourth Friday of every month. We're there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We have a lot of very fine volunteers. The churches have been very cooperative. The schools, at the high school, last year the high school kids brought in 7,988 food items.
Now that's fun from the school part because that becomes competition, and some of this they give prizes for the class that brings in the most cans, and they really try to outdo one another. And they've limited, for example, 4 Raymond's noodles equal one,
only one thing,
only one thing,
right,
because they were going down and got cases of these.
And they each one item, and some of them were only about 10 cents.
I think it's good for the students.
They're
too,
wonderful. They bring the stuff in, and they help at Christmas time with Christmas for the Needy.
Now,
They move the tables.
Excuse me. Do you get the food that, for instance, the mail?
Oh yes.
We get the.
Oh yes.
Because I always leave cans.
We get that too. They bring it right. They called me when that first started and said, "Do you get the food that we pick up and send the Food Link?" I said, "Yes, I get it, but I pay 14 cents a pound to bring it back." So they said, "That's kind of silly." So they deliver it directly to us. They're very good about that. They bring it in and we sort it and put it out.
Who decides what the items, like in our church bulletin, they'll say this month we want cereal or this month we want macaroni and cheese?
That's what we have to pay for.
Oh, okay.
See, right now, we also get USDA food from them, and that depends on. Now, a couple of years ago, I heard on the TV that there was an overabundance of cranberries. So I said, we're going to get cranberries. Well, we've gotten dried cranberries, we've got cranberry juice, we've got cranberry sauce. So when there's a surplus, we get it. But right now, for instance, there's no fruit on it anywhere, so we have to buy fruit. Fruit's expensive. So I asked the churches for fruit. For a while, we weren't getting cereal. They didn't have any cereal. Food Link, we pay Food Link 14 cents a pound to bring it down. That's all we have to pay for. And they have grants for us that we fill out a form for, and we have to send in a monthly report.